Lorde is back. Let's talk about it. How y'all doing? Welcome to Let's Talk About It, Music Reviews Season 11. How y'all doing? Welcome to the show. Guys, we got a good episode for you today. Lorde, you know, the pop artist that made songs like Royal and, you know, Greenlight and other tracks like that. Honestly, one of the early 2010s mega pop stars is finally returning to music after 4 goddamn years, guys. I mean, Lord Mighty, in the almighty world of 2025, we have some new Lorde music. This song is called What Was That? And I kind of listen to this song and I go, well, what was this damn song? So let's talk about it. Let's go over it. Starting off, let's talk about this beat. Now, I was really surprised when I, clicked on this song. I don't know what I was expecting, going from listening to, Royal when I was younger, going from, listening to, Green Light, a long time ago where I don't even remember what the song even sounds like. So going into this is actually our first ever time on this podcast show reviewing Lorde. So let's just get straight into it. First of all, I really think this beat it's honestly kind of like, this beat feels like a pop beat, but it's been stripped to its rawest form. And what do I mean by that when I say rawest form? Well, I kind of mean all of the elements of what you would expect a pop beat like this would have, maybe the ragey synths, maybe the really kind of poppy, bubbly type beats, or, the simple verses, the simple hook, and that's just kind of it. Maybe you combine some R&B elements of what a lot of newer pop music's been doing lately. All of these little elements that go hand in hand with a pop song is completely thrown out the window with this one. Which, that could be a good thing, that could be a bad thing, but I would say, would I prefer a boring-ass, nostalgic-ass 2010 sounding pop song, or would I like something in 2025 to sound a little bit different? Well, guys, I'm going to be honestly real with you. I'm going to pick something that's a little bit different. Even though, I don't really like this beat that much, the only thing that I could say I love about this beat is the moments of this, I don't know what this sound is, this, synth, or honestly, I think it's like a flute. I think it's like a flute that they mix really, honestly, they mix kind of badly with it, but, it sounds bad, badly mixed, but doesn't sound bad when you're listening to it. It actually adds to the vibe. I really love how the flute goes crazy in this whole beat, and I really love that sound too. I like these little electronic synths that kind of just give little jabs, get little punches in throughout the whole song when you're listening to it. And I think it just really creates a really nice vibe. So I like that, and I do like how the drums are really nice too. I like that bass. I think the bass and the drums actually work pretty well. I like it too, when we get to the second verse, I like how the beat has a slight switch up. That slight switch up is going to get stuck in your head. That slight switch up is just going to really create a vibe that you want to absolutely hear. So I really do enjoy that too. I'm liking all of those elements, but also another thing that I really enjoy about this song is that, I think it doesn't need a big switch up. It's all these little subtle hints. It's like when I talked about Addison Rae, like 3 or 2 days ago. When I talked about Addison Rae, I think the beat had so many layers to it, but it did feel like the generic pop beat. I think this pop beat has a lot of little layers into it, but I think it makes sense. This instrumental feels a little bit stripped back, and I think, since it's stripped back, it kind of means with those lyrics, about a relationship, about what you had or what we both had, something like that. The rawness of, that emotion is kind of showing throughout this whole production, which is really cool, and you don't see a lot of that done to this day, so that's really nice. But, not everything is about the beat. I will be honest, guys, the beat is pretty stripped back, so there's not a lot to talk about. But there is a lot to talk about with my next point, which is Lorde coming in with the first verse. And, I will be honest with y'all. I have to be fully transparent. I think there's some moments on this first verse that I don't like the vocal style. And, I just think the auto-tune on some of the parts of the song, some of the lines, I think they push the peak. And what do I mean by, when an artist pushes the peak? Well, it's like if I yelled. It's like if I, get really mad at a bad song that I'm reviewing and I start yelling. Well, that's going to be peaking the audio. And I think sometimes, some moments when you're listening to the track, Lorde is really peaking the vocals here, and it really hits your ears, and then combine that with those electronic elements, like these little synths, that little flute sound too. It's just, it's a little too much, I will say. But I will say overall, I like this first verse. I like the flow, honestly, and I think the singing actually works really well. I think this first verse has some good elements to it, so that's a really good thing too. My only thing I will say that the second verse, I'll just talk about the second verse now. The second verse exactly sounds the same as the first one, like even from the flow and the style. The only thing that switches up is that beat in the back. So that beat's having these little slight switch up moments, but I really would have preferred if Lorde would have switched it up on the second verse too. Now, let's get into the main part of the song, because, sadly, the second verse is like, these newer pop songs where, the first verse is really good, second verse doesn't get as much love. It's that same similar thing, sadly. Sadly, I have to say that from, Lorde. But the hook, let's get into that. I think the hook actually hits. I was really listening to it thinking, do I really like this hook? I'm going to say yeah. I think I'm going to say I like this hook. I think, the what we had type thing, I think that really translates well to the hook. The emotion on the hook, too, absolutely hits. I think the singing is a lot better. The first verse, I think that some of the points the singing wasn't hitting, but I think the hook is a nice little, moment where you get some good Lorde singing in here. So I really do enjoy that. I think Lorde sounds good on the hook. My only thing about this hook is that I think it is played too many times on this track. It's a 2 or 3, and it's a cut, copy, type, paste hook, which is a little disappointing. I feel like, Lorde, if she's coming back to music, I do wish there would be a little bit more to it. But hey, guys, I think when we talk about this song, Lorde's new song, which is called, What Was That? I think What Was That had some good elements to it. I really enjoyed that beat. I love that flute. I love these little, electronic synths really doing their thing on this beat. And I even like it when the song ends and they kind of just let the sounds of the pop beat really do its thing, really give it its own personality, ready to really go out and do its thing. So I really do enjoy that. I think Lorde had a really strong first verse, The only complaints I had was the auto-tune. And, these days you always have some complaints about the auto-tune because, let's just be real, some artists don't even know how to fucking use auto-tune. It drives me crazy sometimes. So I'm always going to be complaining about the auto-tune, especially in new songs, especially new pop songs. And Lorde is not the exception. Lorde uses auto-tune like all these other motherfuckers use goddamn auto-tune. So there's always going to be something to complain about that. But honestly, I think the hook was really good. Second verse, I wish the second verse was a little bit different. It didn't need to be completely different. Just like a flow switch, just like maybe a vocal style switch too. When the vocals are sounding the exact same, the flow of the song is sounding the exact same as the first verse, that just makes it a little bit of a boring song to listen to. So that's the only thing about that, guys. But overall, I think I enjoyed this song. I'm going to give this song a 7 out of 10. 7 out of 10, guys. What y'all think about it? Did you love it? Did you hate it? I don't know. Let me know. Guys, if you're on YouTube, Spotify, Pandora, wherever you get your podcast at, make sure you follow, turn on notifications. We're dropping new content every single day. I'll see y'all later. You have a good one. Bye.